another one that I think might pique your interest. It's Torq Resources. They are looking for copper and they're developing copper and gold assets in Chile. Of course, yesterday we did a bit of a deep dive on what the latest is in Chile. So I want to get Michael Henriksen's opinion. He is the chief geological officer for Torq Resources. Michael is a structural geologist. He leads the Torq technical team. Previously, he was the global structural geologist at Newmont, where his contributions increased the reserves and resource base at the Ahafo district in Ghana. Michael's also worked extensively at other major gold camps in South America, the famous Carlin Trend, Guinea, and in Canada. Michael, welcome to the Global Mining Symposium. How are things going for you today, and where are you joining us from?
Thanks for having us as Torq as a starter, and I'm joining you from beautiful Bowen Island, just offshore from Vancouver.
Excellent, excellent. That's the first from Bowen Island. Very good, very good. Well, listen, we're the Chile theme's been coming up. I referenced it yesterday. The latest edition of the Northern Miner has a really good piece by Henry Lazenby on the latest on what was going on with the whole constitution there and how actually it was a victory for the mining industry. So things are starting to look up again for Chile, a great mining jurisdiction. So take us away and show us what you and Torq are up to.
Will do. I'll just share my screen. Let me know when you have it.
We are good. We'll just get you to put it. There you go. We're good.
Okay. So obviously we'll be making some forward-looking statements. So here's our disclaimer. Torq Resources is centered in northern Chile, and we've developed a portfolio of three projects. We've got the Margarita project, which is situated in the coastal Cordillera, sandwiched between Candelaria and Monteverde, and we've basically got a greenfields discovery that's ongoing right now. So quite exciting. From there, in the Maricunga Belt, we have the Santa Cecilia project. This was the reason we actually really wanted to be in Chile, and we're surrounded by the Norte Abierto joint venture, which is held 50-50 between Newmont and Barrick with their Caspiche and Cerro Casale deposits. Very special project, and obviously I'll tell you more about that when we get into the details. And then finally, the Andrea project, situated in the El Indio Belt, where we're trying to bring a new exploration concept. We're looking for copper porphyries in what's traditionally been an epithermal belt, and certainly there's very strong evidence that could be the case. Right now, we've got about 85 million shares outstanding. We've just completed a $15 million strategic investment from Goldfield, so that number should actually be about 100 million because it just closed. And we're sitting on about $17 million of cash. So very well funded to advance our discovery at Margarita and to get going on Santa Cecilia. From a management perspective, this is a group that's been together for a long time. We've had some successes over the years with a good discovery in Africa, which is now a producing mine with Galiano. And then we sold a company in Mexico to Agnico in 2014 with Caden Resources. But the person I most want to talk about here is Waldo Quadra, who's our general manager in Chile. He and his team are sort of the key to this whole thing. We built this company during the pandemic, which was an unusual way to do it. But, we had to be nimble. And basically, Waldo and his team, they've had some big discoveries behind their name, the El Moro deposit, which is now held by Teck and Newmont in the Nueva Union joint venture. And their width and breadth of knowledge in Chile is really what this portfolio is all about. They've been eyeing these projects for 15 years, and we were like-minded explorationists, and we said, okay, let's partner and do this. So to Margarita, 65 kilometers north of the city of Copiapó. Roads are there, power's there, the infrastructure is beautiful. We did a first 4,000 meter drill program based on the fact that there was some copper oxide situated in the corner of the project. And when I went there with the guys, they said, well, there should be a sulfide source here somewhere. And looking at all these hydrothermal breccias with magnetite and specularite in, and I thought that's a fair exploration thesis. And we went out there on our 13th hole, the last hole of the first phase of drilling. Lo and behold, we hit 90 meters of 0.94% copper and 0.84 grams per ton gold. which was just a great result. From there, we immediately embarked getting ourselves ready for a second phase of drilling. We just recently released the first hole from that, hole number 14 on the project, and we followed that up with a 200-meter step out from the original discovery of 98 meters of 0.94 grams per ton gold and 0.68% copper. So for me, and I think for people who are familiar with this IOCG belt, the gold grades are exceptional here. And, obviously we're in the process of learning about what this is all about, but, from the standpoint of just getting into some, a robust mineralized system, we certainly feel like we're there. If you take a look at the project, it's roughly about 1,400 hectares here. You can see the 2 discovery drill holes situated on the FIA 13 structural corridor, and you can see these west-northwest transtensional structures get in there. And basically, this is a structural play at the moment, but I can tell you there's mineralization hosted in various different intrusive bodies. And again, this is a place where we're learning, and we've concentrated the entire second phase of drilling along this FIA 13 corridor here. Having said that, of course, there are other targets here. The Remolino and Cotutuda targets in the south have a very similar signature, big magnetic highs, good geochemistry on surface, reflecting magnetite breccias that are currently hosting the mineralization that we're talking about. But one thing that we've really seen here lately is just the degree of leaching. So if you take a look at what we've done here, you can see the 2 discovery holes in dark black. You can see the other drill traces. We have 10 holes pending. We expect results in the next 6 weeks. Obviously this is a great start for us. But what I really want to talk about here is you can see the mineralization in cross-section here, basically from surface. But what we've really learned here, particularly with that second discovery drill hole, is the degree of leaching that's occurred. And so of that 98 meters of 0.94 gold and 0.68 copper, the top 48 meters are running 1.15 grams per ton gold in oxide with very little copper. And then, of course, you get into 1% plus once you're into the sulfide portion of the intercept on the copper side. So what that means is, and probably the only time I'll say this in my career, is that gold is going to have to be the vector for copper here, oddly enough. So, right now we're going to complete a gold geochemistry grid over the project to ensure we understand all of the structures and all of the target areas specifically, as it's obviously what we're going to have to use to really realize the full potential of the project. And I would say that we fully anticipate finding multiple pods of mineralization at this stage. You can see what it looks like. I mean, very nice place to work, easy to do. A lot of alteration on surface, very strong argillic and sericitic alteration. You see some jarosite kicking around, the occasional little sniff of copper oxide, but ultimately where that discovery drill hole is situated there, you'd have no idea you're sitting on 100 meters of nearly 1% copper and 1 gram gold. So, really, I think it shows the true potential of the portfolio that Waldo and his group had been eyeing over these 15 years while we're into a discovery here on our first drill program of the company. This brings us to Santa Cecilia. Again, this is a very special project to us and has a bit of a backstory that I think is quite important to explain to everybody. As I said, we're surrounded by Caspice and Cerro Casale held by Barrick and Newmont. Those 2 deposits have combined resources of 50 million ounces of gold and 13 billion pounds of copper. And we feel that there's a major opportunity to find a significant ore body here. The project's basically been frozen in time since 1990, effectively, which is why it's so special. And the backstory is there was a Chilean mining entrepreneur who teamed up with the Canadian Geo in the mid-80s. They teamed up with Anglo and they started staking vast tracts of northern Chile, getting in airplanes, looking at alteration zones, and they found some amazing deposits from that time. They found Pascua, they found El Indio, they found Refugio, they found Westwall. I mean, all world-class ore bodies. And of course, a huge amount of wealth was generated during that time for the owners. And so they've been able to sit on Santa Cecilia since that time. So we're just kind of stepping back in time. We're in the Maricunga basically in 1990, which is an amazing opportunity. Now, when you look at Santa Cecilia, just in terms of an alteration footprint, which you see here in the green colors, Caspice is really part of the bigger hydrothermal alteration system at Santa Cecilia. And what we can tell you is we've identified 4 porphyry centers on that 10 square kilometer alteration footprint that we feel have the potential to really deliver, something similar in terms of a Caspice-esque sort of discovery or a Cerro Casale. And obviously that's what we're going to be doing here over the next several months, is getting ourselves ready to drill. Now, there is a history with Anglo back from I believe it was 1987 to 1990. They came in, they did some work. You can see the black dots here represent the drill holes of Anglo. There's 47 of them for the tune of 14,000 meters, so quite shallow drilling. And you can see right in the middle of the property, oxide gold discovery. Beautiful, and I'll show you what that looks like. And you can see over to the west where there's that nice white line, Vetus Condor here. They put in an exploration drift looking for high grade as El Indio is in the process of being discovered. And lo and behold, there you go, there's high grade in that exploration drift. So let's go back to the center of the property, that oxide gold, right on the topographic high at Cerro del Medio. You can just see that, drill hole to drill hole, this is a cohesive body of oxide gold. And whether it's, 22 meters of a gram or 162 meters of 0.58, you're just looking at a good substantial mineralized body here. And from there, basically, at the time, this was very remote for Anglo. Gold prices were low. The grades weren't, exceptional at that time. And so they left. And then the project basically sat there for 22 years. And it wasn't until the underlying owner had decided that after looking at the discoveries of Caspice right next door and Cerro Casale to the south, which are porphyry bodies, he wanted to see, hey, do I have a porphyry, underneath this oxide gold? And that's exactly what you see here with this deeper drill hole coming down. There's a 925 meter intercept of 0.45 copper equiv, 0.21 gold, 0.27 copper, with 80 ppm moly. But what's amazing to us about this is from the top of the hill to the bottom of that drill hole, still open in mineralization, that's 1.5 vertical kilometers of continuous mineralization. And what I can tell you about this, when you look at the rock, it's absolutely beautiful. Hundreds and hundreds of meters of stockwork veining like this. Obviously, this was a great thing for us to see once we got the project. But after detailed logging and petrographic work, we realized that this is actually all the wall rock and not the causative intrusion. And so we're saying where the causative intrusion is going to be, we're going to find higher grades. But for wall rock mineralization, this is exceptional. And so, as I said, we've identified 4 porphyry bodies on the project, and that will be our exploration focus moving forward. As an example of these porphyry bodies, here you see Las Pircas and Pircas Norte. And this pink color, I should go back, sorry, this pink color that you see here is resistivity lows. After the drill hole, the deep drill hole that got drilled here, the owner did a geophysical survey, beautiful 3D acquisition with Quantec Orion style of geophysical survey. And, what we can say is that's a 1-to-1 correlation with the porphyry mineralization and alteration and that intercept. And so when you go to Pircas and Pircas Norte here, that same color, low resistivity, is just sitting there begging to be drilled. We're about 1.2 to 1.5 kilometers away. I can tell you at Pircas Norte, there's direct detection of mineralization on surface. It's largely covered by colluvium. There are a few sparse outcrops over about a 200 to 300 meter area, sort of running 0.5 gram to 0.75 grams gold and 0.5% to 0.75% copper. So obviously, these are high priority targets for us. And you can see Anglo had drilled holes above in high resistivity, silicious rocks looking for oxide gold. And so just below that is probably where we really want to be. So looking forward to getting our boots on the ground here in October, doing 2-3 months of work to get our ducks in a row in terms of geology and structure and alteration, and then bring the rigs out to Santa Cecilia. We're hoping for mid-January. Now, before we leave Santa Cecilia, I just wanted to show the high grade potential here because it's another part of the story. This is the exploration tunnel that Anglo put in. First 32 meters ran 3.84 grams gold equiv, 80% of the value in gold and 20% in silver. The next 134 meters ran over a gram. And then right in the back of the tunnel, you get that high grade that I think they were actually after, the 2 meters of 58 grams per ton gold. And so they said, okay, we'll throw 3 holes into this right at the entrance of the tunnel. And lo and behold, there's the high grade, 2 meters of 56 grams per ton. So, between the oxide, the high grade, the porphyry targets, we just feel this is an exceptional property. And again, frozen in time effectively for all these years. So really look forward to getting going here in the next several weeks. Finally, I'll wrap it up with Andrea. This is a new idea, much like the Maricunga Belt changed with the discovery of Caspice and Cerro Casale as porphyry deposits and an epithermal belt at the time. We feel something similar could happen here. It's situated between Pascua-Lama and El Indio. We know that there's 3 different porphyry bodies that we've recognized, covered largely by a big landslide that's about 2 kilometers by 1 kilometer in dimension. We've done our targeting, and we're going to bring this to light after we do our work at Santa Cecilia and follow up on our discovery at Margarita. So just the last bit for catalyst for investors moving forward, obviously the 10 remaining holes at Margarita, our recent strategic investment from Gold Fields for $15 million. We have a 7-year community agreement at Santa Cecilia covering the entire length of our option agreement. And we're ready to go and start expanding on these historical discoveries. And then, as I said, we'll bring the Andrea project to light here in the next several months. And if I was going to leave the listeners with just one theme here for Torq, we're going to be expanding on discoveries that either we've made or that have been made in the past. So just a really great position to be in. And so thanks very much for your time. I hope I kept that to 10 minutes.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, we're a little bit over, but that's okay. It's a big story to tell, and copper in Chile is something that has all of our attention for our delegates here. We do have one from the audience here around true width percentages. You showed a lot of drill results there. I certainly don't expect you, and they're not specific about which hole they're talking about, but maybe you can guide listeners to where they can find that information.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, at Margarita, it's a subvertical structure. So, true width is we're estimating at about 75 to 80%. Obviously, with the next 10 drill holes coming in, we'll be able to actually truly determine what the true widths will be. So bear with us on that. We're just brand new into this discovery, but that's a vertical structure, and we're cutting it at about 60 degrees with the drill holes. So.
Okay, great. And listen, a big theme here is where is all this copper going to come from? And the fact that you guys made that discovery with Margarita this year, there's not too many new discoveries like that. So definitely kudos to you on that. But it begs the question, how are you, but Santa Cecilia looks very promising as well. How are you balancing capital allocation between Margarita and Santa Cecilia?
Yeah, well, Goldfields, part of the reason Goldfields came in, a large part, was for Santa Cecilia because they see the prize. Our goal here is to find 25 million ounces of gold and the next 7 billion pounds of copper, like another Caspice or Cerro Casale. And so that's what really interested them. So I'd say 80% roughly of the money that they want, that they put in, is going to go straight to Santa Cecilia. Obviously, when we first started talking to them, we hadn't even had the discovery at Margarita, but I think they're pretty pleased by that. And so we've got some money allocated for that. And obviously, we see a third phase of drilling in Margarita, but at the moment, we've got ourselves well situated with capital. So we're just going to have to get the results, plan it out, figure out what we want to do. And then, that's when we'll really know our true capital allocations.
Okay, got it. And then one from Pizier. I apologize if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. Any potential complications like at Pascua-Lama? I guess they're referring to Andrea here. Andrea was the one closer to Pascua-Lama, correct?
It is closer to Pascua-Lama. That's right. No, I think, the Pascua-Lama story is obviously very complex and is a massive ore body. I don't want to comment on what happened with Barrick and the Chilean government, really. But at an exploration phase, we don't see that. One of the things that we pride ourselves on and has been a major focus for us has been just our work with the community. I mean, at Santa Cecilia, our flagship, I mean, that's surrounded by big players, and they've had some experiences that weren't necessarily they viewed as favorable. And we spent 10 months talking with them, figuring out how they wanted to work with us. So I think our approach will bring security to our projects in terms of access moving forward.
Excellent. Okay, Michael, we're going to leave it there. We thank you for the time. Thank you for a stellar presentation, and we wish you all the success going forward from here.
Thanks very much.
Cheers, Michael. Bye-bye.
Cheers.